Quick video to go with the Tommy John surgery meme. So we have this story behind tears or injuries in sports, especially because of the way it's shown and reported to you, and it's sensationalized, and that's fine. But it has you thinking that something like an Achilles just all of a sudden ruptures, or a ligament just all of a sudden just explodes, and you watch the video, and it's tough to watch because you see people who claim to want to do what they do at the highest level for as long as they desire to win at all expense, and then you watch them in one pitch break down and get all upset and emotional, and it hurts and it's scary and it's frustrating. But then that story, that picture's in your mind, and then you're just like, well, shit, is that how it is? And then you start living that way, where you literally are like, man, I can't jump a creek because I'm gonna tear my meniscus, or I'm gonna, my disc is gonna herniate when I pick up my grandchild all of a sudden. And then there's proof all around. Why? Because when the person did jump the creek, their meniscus tore, and when the person did pick up their child, their back spasmed so badly that what they went in to go get an image done, and then the image showed herniated disc, the image showed torn meniscus, the image showed a torn ligament of some kind, the image showed, or you just look, your Achilles is rolled up behind your calf and there's a nice big knot behind your calf, or even just a bicep pulling off the elbow, or the insertion up in your shoulder. And you'll literally link it to jumping the creek, throwing the baseball, picking up the grandchild. And then they'll throw you a story where if it's baseball, you threw too hard, you threw too much. If it's, picking up a grandchild, you're too old. If it's jumping a creek, you're too old and you're too heavy. All these things. Well, the problem with that is that's not how it works. That just evolutionarily, just use common sense. What a human really, we have survived as long as we have, whatever you argue, where we started from and how long ago we started. These people living this way would not survive in the wild if a ligament just ripped and then they were just useless. And there was no warning ahead of time. The person would just fall, their back would spasm, they would just get eaten by a tiger or a dinosaur or a lion or whatever, or another tribe. So just from a development standpoint, whatever you feel you came from, whatever the story is, it still doesn't make sense. And as I've said before, and there's been other analogies used by a doctor that I trust, where water warms before it boils. I'll say the body will whisper before it yells. It warms before it boils. That is a natural phenomena outside of an accident or a fall off of a building or something like that. But this is not what we're talking about, not even close. You're throwing a ball, or you're tackling somebody, or you're just taking your dog for a walk, or you're picking up your grandchild, or you're throwing a football, cutting and avoiding a tackle or something like that. So these aren't accidents. These aren't big traumatic scenarios. And so what does that look like? What does the water warming before it looks like? Because a torn ligament, a herniated disc, a back spasming so badly that you're just locked down, or a torn Achilles or a meniscus or something like that, or even apply it to medicine, a tumor. That's boiling water. So what does it look like before these scenarios? The water warming will be symptoms years on end, sometimes 10, 20, 30 years prior, where the body was trying to get your attention and trying to get you to change. And whether or not you did, obviously you didn't, because it brought you to this point right now. But what does that look like? It could be muscle tightness, or a limp, or fear, or slowing, or rigidity, or sounds, numbness, tingling, all the symptoms of everything that everyone will go again to another professional and tell the person that you have these things and what are they doing. And here's one of the biggest culprits to why it appears that all of a sudden water just boils, flash boils, is because we have now, at a time in history, more therapies, more options, more herbs, more over-the-counter stuff, more supplements, more shit that we can do to numb all those prior water warming type scenarios, symptoms. And we never feel it. And then all of a sudden the body goes in and is holding on for dear life and your life, it just couldn't do it. It couldn't manage those forces. It couldn't do what you had to do. It had to lock you down, because if you keep going, you are not going to survive. And it appears that water flash boils, which we know is not possible. And these aren't, again, accidents or emergencies. This is just life building up. So we can have faith that the body will warn you ahead of time. And then it's your obligation, your duty, responsibility, and accountability to make changes and feel. The first thing you do not want to do is do something that hides the feeling, hides the sensation, gets rid of the tight musculature, gets rid of the rigidity, gets rid of the scar tissue, gets rid of the inflammation, swelling, and pain from a sprain or strain, that gets rid of the tightness, as I said. Because if you go in the history of 24 years of doing this with injuries, if you go in the history of somebody who has herniated discs, multiples, or rupture here, or torn leg, or this, there's always signs prior to. 100% of them that led to a point where this is just another stage of development. It's perfect, actually. And so you can kind of be at ease to understand that it's not a video showing somebody's thing ripping, or you in a moment where your musculature, especially around the spine, since the sensitivity is so great, it's no different. The muscle around the back is no different than muscle in the hamstring. There's just more receptors, so it seems like a bigger deal, but then they go measure it. It's like, oh my God, look what you have, a disc. My grandkid, and I herniated my disc picking up your grandkid. Your herniated disc was there for about 20 years. Body was telling you way long before you were ignoring it, or you had a business that if you would have acknowledged that you needed to change, you would have had to shut your business down, because you're running a business that's kind of full of shit, especially in the health world, and you know this, and you're kind of torn, there's conflict, and you don't know what the fuck to do. But a spasmed back is no more severe. That's all been there. But when we watch that, we always go, oh my God, they're throwing baseballs, they're tackling, he's running, he put his heel down when he ran. You can't do that with an Achilles, that's why it tore. Or you picked up your grandkid, you didn't use your legs, or you didn't use. That would be like literally looking at a person who is carrying more fat as a healing response to their life. We could call it obesity, overfat, or whatever. Or you have somebody on the other end who is living, let's say, true, and is lean on the stronger end of things. Not when I say true or false, because you can look strong and look lean, and you just fabricated the whole thing. You really don't have any idea how to use what you look like, and it's obvious, because underneath that skin and behind the doors of those people, it's a whole nother video. It's a total healing mess. So you can get leanness and with all these tricks, and it's still hard, but anyway, a lean, strong, able person with wisdom, understanding how to heal all injuries, understanding all this. If you were to look at those people at any point in time and go, ugh, that person's crossing the street in cargo pants and crossing streets create fat gain. Or that person's eating, and that's the way we want to do. We want to look at like the single thing they're doing and go ahead and point, but that you now know that would sound stupid. So just as stupid as saying, oh my God, that person's ligament tore on the 99th pitch. They threw 99 pitches and no. You'd have to go into their life and talk about their life for the last 10, 15, 20, 30 years for them to understand, oh shit, this is totally it. Just like having excess fat or be appearing lean, strong, that didn't just occur. So look at the workout that person did. That's why they look that way. No, not at all. Or they took this supplement. That's why they are that way. And that's why they slept well that night. And that's why it's rarely a one-to-one. You can get to the point where you clean up your life enough and live in a way that it can be a one in, one out. And that makes things very simple. Which is why I harp on some of the rules, because if you clean those up, then it really is a one-on-one as you go ahead and adjust everything else to support your changes going here. But ligaments don't just tear, Achilles don't just rupture, herniated discs don't just show up. Part of the reason imaging is kind of a waste. And a tumor doesn't just appear, a cyst doesn't just appear, or, skin response doesn't just appear, an immune response or an endocrine response, that's again, anything they measure is not just it's a measure of your healing response of your entire life. There's just a snapshot of it, or there's a 30-second video of it. So get past what were they doing in that 30 seconds, or what was going on in that 1 second snapshot, because the body doesn't work that way. It's actually equipped even better, to warn you ahead of time, for you, not to threaten you, not to manipulate you or trick you. It's for you. That's the thing. If you change the story around it and the dynamic to being, everything you're feeling and everything that's happening is for you. Even a tear and a break and all these things is for that person to go in and change their fucking life. Not to go in and just have a surgery and keep everything the same, although that will happen. Or go do therapies and your back doesn't hurt anymore and you go right back to living the way you were, running your business the way you were doing, people in your life the way they were, or attach an Achilles and go back right. There's more there that your body wants you to know, a lot more. And you're not even changing your life to live to change the symptoms. You're changing your life to live to change your life. And as a side effect, your symptoms, like, holy shit, they just went away. It's not living differently or sitting out here for a thing, or eating and consuming in a new way for a thing, or training in a way for a thing. You're doing it for your life, for the experience of your life. That's what it has to be. As a side effect, the symptoms got you to change your life. You didn't change your life to fix the symptom of healing. Even if you acknowledge the body only heals, it's that trippy nature where we do all these things for the sake of trying to fix ourselves. And that would be just like what medicine on all sides is doing. Only now we're doing it with things that are very beautiful and pure and powerful. And then we, of course, pervert them behind the story that you're broken, flawed, need fixed, and you can't feel anything. There's no symptoms. You're not supposed to feel anything. You're not supposed to. And that's, again, another reason why it appears that ligaments just tear, because we do all these things ahead of time, blocking the feelings and sensation, because you've been told that those can't do that, can't feel that way, can't be tight, can't be tired, can't be swollen, can't be inflamed, can't be depressed, can't be anxious, can't be slow, can't be aggressive, can't be, all right. But everything's a healing response, so hide that, and the body's going to use more aggressive tactics to get your attention for you, and it won't make sense to anybody else. That's why asking somebody for guidance has to be one of the biggest fucking questions on the planet, because it is for you, and anybody you bring in on this needs to start from that point, that everything you're going to choose is specifically for you. Has to be. It cannot be a copy and paste way to live. It just won't work. You'll be healing to the life of somebody else, but that person's not here, and then it's just triple confusing. So ligaments don't just tear, Achilles don't just rupture, people don't just all of a sudden appear metabolically to look a certain way, and meniscus don't just freak, and discs don't herniate on a single move. There's more than that.